Faria. I'm a mechanical engineering student here, and I was the teacher's assistant for this year's trip. This is my third year back as part of the program. So I kind of got to see it develop a little bit, which has been pretty special to me. And usually I'm very focused on like projects and technical and whatnot, but it's kind of been covered, and I kind of want to leave that open for other delegates to kind of explain that process a little bit. So I'll just kind of briefly go over the tanks. That's kind of the first step when we got there. Basically, they give us this platform, so this is where we need 3 tanks, and they kind of set our parameters, and we don't know much of that until we get there. So it's kind of hard to plan for everything, kind of know we need tanks and some pipe fittings and stuff, but you don't really get to do planning until you get to visit the site. And there's always new challenges that go along with that. And that's kind of after we leveled it, we kind of decided it would be a good spot and tucked them back and graded it and leveled it off and packed it down. Got the tanks there, and that's it afterwards, which you've seen a lot of pictures of. And Mike, explained the process really well, kind of how the water works and stuff, so I don't need to go into that too much. But one thing I will add is there was a spigot at the very bottom that it was already existing there, and it was tied into the main line. And we could have very easily just let the water flow back into the main line and use the existing spigot. But then the water that fills into these tanks, as long as there's water in the spring, the water would just sit here stagnant. So it would sit here for 8-9 months out of the year until the springs go dry, and then you'd be able to tap into these tanks. So instead we capped off the spigot on the main line and wrapped our own spigot down. So that way, anytime they got water out of that faucet or that spigot, it would drain our tanks and then force them to get replenished. So then we kind of had a constant flow of fresh, clean water going into the tanks to really keep it a little cleaner. And I like this picture of the soccer field. The tanks were kind of above grade, so we kind of got to look down at the progress of the soccer field as we were working up there. And this one was a good picture to just show that we were 100% committed. Like, we had got the tractor, we were dug, waist deep into the field, and there was no turning back. So we, this is what we had to do and what we were working with, and we had a plan and we were moving forward, and we made it work. So that was a really cool thing to see from kind of far that developed. And of course, everybody's kind of talked about it, but one of the most special parts to the project is just having all the little kids around and having them greet you every morning when you get there, and being able to connect with them and learn their stories and kind of meet their families, and they welcome you into their community. And definitely really special. I think it sticks with a lot of us there, and they like to play around with us and work too. Estrella, she's, what was she, 4? She was 4, and she's, working harder than probably some adults. So. And she was happy about it. She was stoked to take a break, and they wanted to help and be a part of it. And then Katie's the older sister there, and that's her, using the spigot. She's filling up her water jug, and she's rolling her sute. She's going to carry that jug on her head back home, and she's getting that water out of the tanks that we had just set up. So that was, a big moment and pretty exciting. And another nice side note about her is, she's never been able to go to school. She has 12, 13 siblings, and she's the oldest one, I believe, of her family. So she's got all the responsibilities. So her mom's taking care of other stuff. Her father's working, so she takes care of all her brothers and sisters. She makes the meals. She takes her father lunch every day at 11 o'clock. So she's never really had the opportunity to go to school. But being here and talking with her mom and her family, that the impact we had on them, they showed how important school was to the students or to the children, and how much they needed to further their education. So now this year, her mom said that she's going to allow her to go to school. So that's pretty exciting and really special for her. And then on the last day, I was just kind of sitting up at the school with Danny. We were kind of reflecting the projects and kind of the whole experience and kind of taking it in. And Christian, who he's been there every year that we've been at the school, so the last 3 years he's been there. He's been a big part of it. He's always lent a helping hand, whether it was actually helpful or not, but he's trying to help. And he's kind of he has had his ups and downs with the school a little bit. So he came to the school and was just kind of talking to Danny and I. He said he was gone all day doing chores, carrying firewood from up the mountain. So we said, we don't have anything to do, we'll help you carry the firewood back to your house. And actually, he first asked for just help. They're like, what, you want us to do your chores for you? Like, come on, we're not going to do your chores. And then it was like, okay, we'll carry it back. And then he really just wanted help putting it back on his head. But when I picked it up to put it on his head, I realized that it weighed probably more than he did. It was probably 80, 90 pounds of firewood, and he easily barely weighs that. So I mean, it's just I was kind of blown away by the chores and just the responsibilities that these children have to acquire to keep their families going. So I carried the firewood back for them, and then it was a really cool experience just sitting there and talking to his family and with his grandpa and stuff, and just kind of connecting with them and kind of seeing his history and his parents. He doesn't have his parents anymore. They left him they were killed when he was a young child. So he lost his parents at a young age. So he's kind of had a rough childhood. So just to kind of get a picture of his family was really neat for us after 3 years of kind of working and being there with him and seeing that. And then talking to his grandpa, they live around the curve of the school, and they said that they're on a separate spring system, and for their spring usually only flows for about 3 months out of the year, and they counted off all the families and homes that lived up there, and they said about 20 to 22 houses live on that part of the village, and they have 0 water for 9+ months out of the year, and they have to walk all the way around to the school or to the faucets that we put in last year for them to get water. And then he said, what about us? Like, how do our voices get heard? Like, how does the community help us so we have water now? And then at that point, it hit me that, us living thousands of miles away, having this program and working in this community, that we're going to be the voice of that family. Like, we'll talk to Brian, and we'll talk to the mayor, and we'll talk to the community, and we'll, find a way to get these people water and figure out how we can fix their spring system and kind of branch out and help more families. And, it's just really, valuable experience to kind of take home with you, that, you just working and just helping, kind of doing just like little water systems things, that you're actually helping to collaborate and bring the whole community together. And yeah, that's really neat. And of course, DeKalb, which goes without saying, it's just an amazing, beautiful place, the largest Mayan cities during the civilization. So to get to see that and have a tour and see the architecture and learn about the water systems and the reservoirs and just kind of how they have water catchment systems, and it's a really neat experience. And then of course the meals, to me, was one of the most amazing times. That's one of the few times we actually got to have everybody together at one time, and kind of share that experience together. So I wanted to capture that a little bit. And then of course the volcano, which you've seen some videos of, but you've never seen enough videos of volcanoes. So that was really cool. That was after a mining experience, and we just started driving home, and we just see this volcano just completely going off. And the last, couple of years we've been there, we saw like one little spurt come out, and it was like this huge, big thing. It's like, oh my God, there's like red, a little bit of red. You can see it right here, look hard enough. And then like this year is just like completely, off the hook, just pretty amazing. And the last day, just everybody kind of sharing the moment of the soccer field being done, all the projects kind of being done. Kind of taking it all in, and all the hard work and all the connections and the whole community, and yeah, it's just a good moment. And yeah, and a picture that we've seen time and time again. Yeah, it kind of captures it all and brings it all together. That's the end of it.
Cool.